And I'm a university lecturer at Sulaimani University. I teach a translation department. And I'm really happy to have you all here, dear participants and the speakers. I hope we can get benefit from each other's insights. And I think we have got students as participants, which is like I can say this is our target so that they can get the most out of it. And as our like teachers and academicians, we can guide them and how to value the position of English language in our life and in their lives. So this is my topic, the role of English, the role of learning English language in improving emotional intelligence. So you might like just think that English is just a language, but what can we do with English as a language? Or any other language can have like benefits. It's not just learning it for fun or for the sake of like a certificate. My purpose behind choosing this topic is that, let me just come to the outline so that you have an insight what I'm gonna talk about. So like what inspired me to talk about this topic and to approach it is that, like I didn't mention this, sorry, my major is English literature. So as an English literature major, we normally face criticism from our students. They normally criticize and say, why do we need to study literature? We are studying language. And especially we have this criticism and this problem at translation department. Most of them, I can say minority of them, those who are readers themselves can understand what is the value of literature, why do they study literature. And the irony is there, like here is that when they go out to the market, they find all the books that, most of the books that are been translated into like Kurdish, which is my native language, my mother tongue. So on most of them, when they graduate and when they start kind of finding themselves in a job, they translate literary texts or movies, which is, I can say, is more related to literature. Cinema is part of literature. So the irony starts here. They work on it, they find themselves in it, but the problem is that they continue to criticize and ask, why do we need to study literature? When it comes to studying it, they really don't want to do it. So here I'm gonna connect this because I focus mostly when it comes to English language learning. I focus on this part, like learning it through movies and literature. So how this affects emotional intelligence and how we can boost our emotional intelligence through a language, which might be like a big word when I say this, but when we can go and dig deep and analyze it and think about it, you clearly find yourself getting benefit from it. And when you speak a language like English, which is a global language, you find yourself you have completely changed from who you were before being able to speak English language. I'm not gonna say this as some people might understand as a racist remark, but that's not really the case, and that's not what I mean. So English is a global language. We all know that it is the first widely spoken language when it comes to non-natives. I'm not going to talk about China or the rest. So that's why I say English language has this benefit. Otherwise, if you study any other language and go for literature, if they have rich literature written in this language, you might get the same benefit. So in order to show the importance of this in improving emotional intelligence, I'm going to explain emotional intelligence because if you ask these questions, like many of our students might not understand, simply even like it happens in our university, you compile a course book for them and you hand it in with all details, still they're not gonna put an effort into reading the course books. They are going and come asking you like, why do we have this and that? So I'm gonna explain what do we mean by emotional intelligence, and then how is it connected to English language, and how to improve our emotional intelligence through learning a language. So Coming to emotional intelligence, I would start by the history, which is not something like old. As a science, or the psychologists and cognitive scientists started to study intelligence, they realized that IQ is not almost everything. That unfortunately we find this in the curriculum of schools, and like if you have a high IQ, this you are regarded a highly performed students, which in reality this is not the case. And this only has come to existence and gained interest in the 1930s, and gradually it elaborated, and some people individually were working on it. If you go to the literature of emotional intelligence. So it wasn't became a field, or the word compiled only in 1985, when Pine introduced it in one of his articles. And then it gained more popularity in the 1990s when Daniel Goleman wrote his best-selling book. Like nowadays, I can say many like big business companies, and even in educational sectors, they are a kind of going back to his insight and his ideas. So this book made a big change, I can say. Emotional intelligence, why it can matter more than IQ. Previously, it was perceived, I can say wrongly perceived, as that only IQ matters. But since like he has written this book, people's idea has changed completely about the IQ and EQ. So like, let me just explain what we mean by emotional intelligence. I take the definition from Goleman because he, I can say he is credited to have defined it and showing the importance of this type of intelligence in our life. So what we mean by emotional intelligence is that knowing or having the ability to know one's own feeling, and using our reflection and understanding of our feeling in like making great decisions in our life. So the core, if you just go to this book, the core point is decision making. That changed our personal life and even our professional or academic life. So in elsewhere in 1998, in another book, he defines it as a skill or ability. So it is an intelligence. Actually, it is a collection of skills, but here that's the definition. In case of the triad of emotional intelligence model, a self-perceived ability. So we perceive it by ourselves to identify, assess, and control our emotions. And the emotion of others or groups. So that works on two levels, personal level and on a social level. This is the definition for anyone who is not like understanding what we mean by EQ, emotional intelligence. Now, I'm gonna explain the component parts of EQ, or the skills that are considered to be covered or put in under this umbrella term, let me say. When we say like EQ, it consists of a lot of skills, but some like psychologists and cognitive scientists define it or categorize it differently. I would go for Goleman first because I think he is the one who is most credited for this like in type of intelligence. So, and later on I'll go to Barron's, which is more accurate when it comes to measuring EQ. So he divides this into several like skills. We have personal competency that includes self-awareness and self-management. What he like focuses here is how to be able to know yourself, to be aware of yourself, and once you are aware of yourself, then you will be able to manage yourself. And I think this is like the point in spirituality, which is more focused on. And if you take any religion or any spiritual ideology or movement or school, that is the core point. First of all, they go for like reflecting on self, and then managing self. Once you reflect on yourself and get to know yourself, then you will be able, following like your ideologies, whatever principle you are following, you will be able to manage yourself. And another thing is that we have social competency, starting from ourselves, because we are human being and we interact with human being. So once we get to know ourselves, it would be easy to gain social awareness, to understand other people, not to just think selfishly and think about ourselves. So what is important here is social awareness, to be aware about different things and different personalities, different groups in society. This way, once you are aware of the like society you belong to or around you, then you will be able to manage your relationships, because it is very important. We are not living alone. It is very important to be able to manage your relationship. But once, like when I say managing your relationship here, first of all, you should consider not losing yourself. There are many people out there. In order to build relationships and get accepted by people, actually the problem starts with themselves. They lose their own self. So that is the problem. And once you gain that like a high IQ, then you will be able to protect yourself and manage yourself, then manage the society and get to a healthy relationship with almost all of them. And another thing we have, which is related to society, it is empathy, having the ability to sense and understand how others and what others feel around us. So having a sense of empathy and that skill kind of saves you in so many bad situations and reactions, actually. So all of us has got some like evil sides and good sides. So this is more working on the suspending the evil sides and working on the good sides to understand people and understand their emotion. And then it breeds to compassion when we have empathy. Another thing is stress tolerance. When it comes to emotional intelligence, one of the skills is to be able to manage stress and solve your problems while you are under pressure. This is like I can say clearly related to the first skill I mentioned, personal competency. It is very important under any circumstances, especially stressful circumstances, not to lose yourself. There are many people due to stress, they end up ruining themselves. So this is a problem. So a person with high IQ, can tolerate stress and manage their problems and stress easily. So this is a fact that our life is not stress-free. So you find people who are successful, that means that doesn't mean they have never faced a stressful situation. On the contrary, that means actually they got to the ladder, up to the ladder, because they were able to manage stress. And finally, according to Goldman's classification, we have adaptability. This means having the ability to be flexible with your surroundings and adapting easily to the change that are going on around you. So be it emotional, be it personal, or anything else. So any problem that faces you or any situation that changes around you, it needs a skill to adapt yourself to it, be it good or bad. Sometimes there are good changes, but still people fail to exploit that chance and get the most out of it. So that needs all these things need skills and need strong people. And that's how I must quote Goldman, who says that it is EQ who produces most perfuming people, not IQ. So a person with a high EQ, I would say, can be more productive and effective than someone who has just got an IQ, a high IQ. And he got this idea when he was there were two psychologists, his friends. He was reading about their writing. They were having a conversation while painting. So they are both leaders, and I think they have got the academic position at the universities. One of them is Yale University. Goldman read about their conversation when they were thinking about why there are people with high IQ, but still they are doing dumb things. They were talking about politicians. So for us, this might be also a question. You see people who is a person who is really intelligent, while you go out and see they are behaving misbehaving. They are treating people badly. They treat their beloved ones badly. They can easily kill thousands of people. So the thing is that IQ is not almost everything. IQ is not what makes us up. So it is EQ, which is very important in our life and places a great effect in our connections and our relationship. So that was Goldman's classification. Let me come to Barron's. If this is useful for anyone who is thinking about conducting research or something and measuring EQ. So Barron's classification is that he subdivided into 5 intelligent type, and one of them is intrapersonal. I can say it comes to personal competency of Goldman's classification, because it has to do with emotional self-awareness, assertiveness, being assertive, and goal-oriented, let me say, and following what you look for, self-regarded, self-actualization, and independence sub-factors. There are many sub-factors that has to do with independence. It is very important to keep your individuality in a world where it is really difficult to keep yourself the way you want, not to be affected by social pressure, let me say outside pressure, by all means. As someone with intrapersonal emotion can easily handle these situations and be successful even without losing themselves. We have interpersonal that has to do with society, as I mentioned. So it is empathy, interpersonal relationship, building strong relationship in society, social responsibility, and civic responsibility, which is very important. Someone with that, sometimes you might say, well, there are kids with strong civic responsibility, social responsibility. How do we learn then? Is it inborn or it has been learned? I'm going to explain this later when I come to how it is connected to English language. And stress management, I explained this one, but Baron also mentioned this one. The last one, which is not clear in Goldman, is general mood emotional intelligence. Here, Baron focuses on our mood, our definition of happiness and optimism. Sometimes you might not have anything, but you are happy. And satisfied completely with yourself, with your surrounding. And there are people, they are really rich, that they are famous, but yet they commit suicide. And or sometimes they do really dumb things that we get surprised when we see these famous people reacting in that way. So the thing is that it has to do with their EQ skills. So someone with a positive mood, someone who is a kind of confident and happy with their lives, then they are gonna handle the things quite easily. So having discussed the skills, now let's move on to talking about the importance of EQ in our life. So how is it important for us? So this is these are skills, but how we can get benefit from these skills? I can say, like as Goldman mentioned, so I'm gonna just paraphrase Goldman. It is valuable in almost every aspect of our life at any level. So it is valuable for business. You see all the business, big business companies and famous business companies and organizations, when they try to get someone employed, like they rely on EQ tests. So they don't go nowadays, simply, they don't go to someone with a high IQ. This is not almost like an important thing anymore. So what they go for is someone with a high EQ, not only IQ. It is very important in education. So like these are deep topics that I'm not gonna go into detail of them, because like all these points I have mentioned here requires a lot, and there are many articles and books written about them. But what I would like to mention is that because this is more related to our students, it is very essential in education. Sometimes students like don't have IQ, still they perform really well like at education. So the thing is that because they have got a high EQ and they know how to handle their life, they know how to handle their emotions, they know how to handle their surroundings, they know how to handle stress even, because you know like studying many times, especially at the time of exam, might be really stressful. So one of the things, like the key things that we need to consider is these skills which are like covered in emotional intelligence. Another thing is, which is essential, is like I have borrowed this phrase from Goldman, which I love the most. He says that it is very impressive in like a bottom line, let me say, result. So once you have a high IQ, you can reach the bottom line in almost every field of your life, in your career, in your personal life, in your professional life. So you can get the most out of your life with a high EQ, sorry, not IQ. And another thing, important thing, is that it is transformational for our personal life, because actually once you have got like a high EQ, you can easily manage your life and you can be easily successful in your life, in your personal life. You might see there are people out there, they are really successful, they are famous people, they are rich. Like when I say success, I mean by all measures that people use to measure success. But in reality, you find themselves, they have big problems at home, in their personal relationship with families, kids. So this is the things, they might have high IQ, but they don't like work on boosting and improving their emotional intelligence. And we can say it is really important in our life. And now I'm gonna go on and talking about and relating it to English language. How is it connected to English language? How we can boost our emotional intelligence through English language? I must refer back to the skills that we have in language learning. And these are two basic skills: receptive skills and productive skills. Receptive skills are the skills that we receive the language through. This is reading and listening. These are reading and listening. And productive skills, speaking and writing. So while you are learning a language, you need to practice all these skills in order to be fluent in that language, in order to understand the language, in order to understand the culture behind this language. So how we do so? And it is here that I must mention literature and reading, because as I mentioned, this is what I have taught so many different subjects, but like mostly my major is literature, and I'm really interested in how it affects our emotional intelligence. So one way to improve your English language is through literature, through reading, through watching movies, which I consider here now, because there are so many like novels and literary works been adapted into movies. So I do include cinema as well in literature here. So be it viewing or reading, just seeing, so it has the same effect. Listening, I have like, I do refer to some researches and academicians and scientists' view on this matter. So I have noticed it in my personal life. I can clearly see the difference between those people who study literature and read literature, and those people who don't read books. So I can, by books, I mean literary books, high quality literary books. Actually, I observed a clear difference, not only in Kurdistan, even outside Kurdistan. Like I can say, like those people with high EQ are, like you can clearly say that these are good readers. So I must mention the importance of literature and the importance of reading in improving EQ, which is part, or let me say, part of language learning, because without reading, intensive reading, it is impossible to learn about, like learn a language easily and fluently. And literature is like something that takes you beyond the language. It takes you to the history, to the culture, to the philosophical ideologies and everything in that community that they speak this language. So many studies have shown that there is a great correlation between intelligence and EQ, let me say, emotional intelligence, and reading books. So one of them like mentioned literature, and basically let me move on to David Dahl, who says that only reading fiction so inspires empathy, not reading all books, because you might find people they are reading different kinds of books, but they don't have this one. Why like this is the case? The thing is that literature is the imitation of our reality. So once we read a literary book, though it is fictional, though it is, it takes us through our imagination, but the thing is that it is the imitation of real life, and that be it real characters. So the characters we read, the world of the books that we like indulge ourselves into, be it real, or like when I say real, documentary or reality based or fictional from the imagination of the writers, this has to do with the reality, because finally like it is the writer who is a real person who produces this job, who writes this literary product. So we are indirectly interacting with the real world. So it affects us, the experiences the characters experience, the pains they feel, the like skills, creativity they have. We can all get benefit from these the characters and their world, and use it in our life, and especially in mind reading. So that's really important in understanding our surrounding. So I must mention this one. I'm trying to rush it up because there is one more speaker left. So we have something that is proven by the cognitive scientists. They say that biologically reading fiction creates a sort of change in the brain, and this is amygdala in our brain, which is the same like place where which is responsible for emotional intelligence. So you see that there is a strong connection between this, because this is responsible for our responses to fear. And once you read a fictional world or a movie, sometimes you might find yourself, you are crying out. So the characters, how the characters are crying, you are crying just like them. So this is, that proves the fact that the imaginative world you are part of, or you are watching or reading, takes you and like overlaps with your reality, your real world. This is how we can say that reading affects our brain, and it can clearly boost our emotional intelligence, and we can get benefit from our emotional intelligence in almost every field and aspect of our life. Thank you so much for listening. I'm really glad to have you all here.